Oh man, so days have passed and people are still mad that Karmelo Anthony has been granted civil liberties, man. So we're about to go over a few things in this video right here. First is the reactions to the district attorney saying that Karmelo will not get a death penalty or life in prison without parole if he's found guilty. And also the founder of the funding website GiveSendGo, yeah, he is refusing to end Karmelo Anthony's campaign, and that has him going back and forth with some furious conservatives. They going crazy, all right? So we're gonna tap in also with Tim Pool, who's usually on the conservative side of these things like this, but he jumped out defending Karmelo, but his audience has begun to kick his back in. All right, and then we'll wrap this thing up with a few opinions from some content creators that's speaking on this situation. But first, let's tap in with the Collin County Prosecutor Greg Willis and see what he has to say about the situation right here.
It's not unusual in the aftermath of a crime for there to be a lot of publicity about it. Ultimately, that'll be a judge's decision to make at the time of trial. But yes, I want to hear this happen in Collin County. I want Collin County citizens to be able to decide this.
I'm not here anymore, and I don't understand it.
Their personal address has been exposed. They have received graphic and racist threats.
That would not be something that we could do even if we wanted to.
Okay, so people started to react and going crazy. This person right here says, try that in Texas. Black stabs a white guy in the heart and murders him. Texas, I mean, we're not gonna send him to jail for life. I reckon that'd be racist, huh? Boy, they hurt. This dude said this is not true. The Supreme Court only banned mandatory life sentences. So people are responding. Magna Michelle said this is a life sentence if I've ever seen one. Otherwise, you let him out at any point and he will continue on with the life of crime. But Gene Sovereign says that boy is 17 years old and he does not deserve a life sentence. Be realistic, he made a mistake. And boy, they are tearing her up in the replies. A mistake is skipping school, you goof. He should stay in jail for as long as the other kid has to stay in a coffin. Here's your hero, boy, they going in, dog. After seeing all the hoopla, Greg Willis came himself to social media and said this right here. There's been some confusion and misinformation this week surrounding the arrest of Karmelo Anthony and my remarks about the case. Here are the facts. Karmelo has been charged with first-degree murder by the Frisco Police Department. That charge carries a possible sentence of 5 to 99 years or life in prison, with parole eligibility only after serving either 30 calendar years or half the sentence. Whichever is less, a jury or judge will decide the punishment if there is a conviction. Clarifying the law, under Texas law, murder most commonly means the knowing or intentional taking of a life without legal justification. But the law separates murder into categories based on specific facts. First-degree murder covers most intentional killings, but capital murder applies only in specific circumstances, such as killing a police officer, killing more than one person, or killing during another serious felony. Only capital murder carries the death penalty or life without parole, but even then, not for a 17-year-old, under binding U.S. Supreme Court precedent. Precedent. Key word that's going to be reoccurring this entire time. Precedent, all right? So some are demanding the death penalty or life without parole, but legally, those options are off the table. Under both Texas and US law, a 17-year-old cannot be sentenced to death or to life without parole, even for murder. That's not my decision, that's the law. And it applies to every 17-year-old in Texas. Everyone, no matter the color, people. So Greg finished it up by saying, let me be clear, my office has a long track record of seeking the maximum sentence legally available in violent cases. Any sentence we seek is based on the facts, the law, and what justice demands. But we won't engage in political theater or make promises that violate the Constitution. You feel me? Now this is what it all comes down to. That's the main discussion that I'm having at least. This situation should be no different than any other when it comes to an American citizen having rights. Especially when you're seeing other people that sat in the same seat that he's going to be sitting in. He should have access to the same tools that they use to fight their case. Some of those people were found guilty and not guilty. It doesn't matter. He should still have the same access to those same tools. But speaking of tools, here goes Karmelo's GiveSendGo campaign as of now. Right now, the fund has reached $369,000. It's crossed the $300,000 goal point. They've upped it to $450,000. Okay, but like I hinted towards earlier, people are so pissed off that this thing is still going, still rising, that they have switched their attention towards the co-founder, Jacob Wells. Now, Jay came on here saying, so people are mad about our stance to allow Karmelo Anthony family a campaign on GiveSendGo, and I get it. It is a horrible situation. There are even calls for a boycott, but because I know a similar scenario will happen again for someone on the right, and our competitor won't allow them a campaign even though it is a legal endeavor, people will be back to using GiveSendGo because we are the only fundraising platform that truly stands on freedom and principle. You hear that, man? Y'all hear that? He's trying to let y'all know y'all gonna be back. Talk all that shit you want to, but you gonna be back. Cause you know what the deal is, bro. So he continues to say, to those claiming it was right for us to allow Kyle Rittenhouse, Dan Penny, etc. campaign on GiveSendGo, even though they were accused of violent crimes, but then say it's not okay for Karmelo, another person accused of a violent crime. Please explain how you would structure our terms of service that allows a campaign for someone accused of a violent crime, but then only for the ones we want, without us then becoming exactly what everyone hated about GoFundMe. Choosing the validity of every campaign. Once you put it in our hands to decide rather than a legal standard, it becomes arbitrary and quickly slides downhill. But Jake, my boy, you know what's going on. Jake like, damn, y'all that racist that y'all can't even let the man have a fair day in trial? Let the man raise up his funds to be able to fight? You feel me? What's up with these people, man? So I know how this probably going for Jacob too, because like a lot of folks probably have conservative values, but they not racist. So I know it's probably a lot of times when they sitting back and chilling and discussing certain topics and they talking to other conservative friends and they say some shit, you like, oh, you really about that racist shit, huh? Like, god damn. Oh, okay. Oh. And it must suck because you have your core values, you have your standards, and that's the reason you vote that way, but you don't agree with everything these folks be having to say. But sometimes it be situations like this, you be like, whoa, whoa. And I know it's vice versa. It's vice versa when it comes to the left side, you feel me? Like you may be having some discussions about some shit with other people that are left leaning, and next thing you know, they talking about some shit and you like, wait, you really believe children should be able to cut their you really agree with that crazy ass shit? I know it probably gets like that for a lot of folks, because a lot of these discussions will have you wondering, what the hell am I doing on this side of things? Why am I on this team? But nevertheless, let's keep reading. Jake continues to say the first fact in every legal case is the public does not know all the facts. Okay? But this person right here says, I'm fairly certain this whole fundraiser is a blatant scam. Why has the goal been met several times yet continues to increase? Now they want nearly 500,000? Something doesn't add up here. And Jake simply responds, do you remember how many times Kyle Rittenhouse campaign, Daniel Penny campaign upped their goal amount? Many. It's common practice for campaigns to do it. It happens all the time. Jake, you know why he's saying that. You know why. You know why. So here comes in Tim Pool. So he says, I'm confused by this story. Are we against self-defense now? He's like, bro, what's going on? I thought we was on the side of self-defense. In all these other situations, it was self-defense, but this situation is not self-defense. Why in this situation is it not self-defense? But then they started going crazy. Dude right here says too many conservatives think a black person being asked to move out of a seat is a self-defense situation. This dude right here says people forget Tim Pool was a Wigger street reporter befriending black rioters as they burned down cities in 2016. Prior to that, he was a commie, Occupy Wall Street funk. Okay. I'm fucking done with Tim Pool, and you should be too. If you think the N-word with a knife in another school's tent on the track meet stabbed the white guy in self-defense, you are indeed very, very confused, you brain dead motherfucker. So, alright, so this dude put this in response to this Tim Pool story, this video saying, Tim Pool has completely lost the plot. He's passionately defending the unjust slaying of a 17-year-old Austin Metcalf cause of self-defense and acts as if Karmelo Anthony was justified in taking his life. Unfollowed. Pete, what Tim Pool had to say right here, dog.
The one where he says, what is it? Nothing matters but this. He was at a school event at the wrong team's tent with a knife. He clearly chose murder than to walk away, cut and dry here. Nope, wrong. Imagine you are invited to a party at someone else's house and you are legally carrying a firearm. And then a fight breaks out and or like an altercation breaks out between you and some guy and, you know, there's drinking involved or whatever. I'm not trying to make a one-for-one scenario. I'm trying to create a potential scenario separate from this one with similarities. You go to a party. No, yeah, let's say you go to a party. And some guy starts saying stuff like, yo, man, get out of here. And you're like, I can do what I want. I was invited to the party. Verbal altercation escalates. And then the dude, you're standing there and you pull your sweater back and you've got a gun. You put your hand up and say, don't come close to me, bro. I'm warning you right now. Do not come close. Do not take another step. Then the guy grabs your arm and makes a move. So you draw your weapon and you use it. Okay, make the argument you have no right to defend yourself when you're being attacked by a guy. Make the argument. By all means, go ahead and do so. I ain't going to do it. I don't know the circumstances. You can argue that you're in a place you're not supposed to be. You can argue it's that guy's house, and it doesn't matter. A guy can invite you into your neighbor could be like, come on over, brother. And then if he gets physical with you, you can defend yourself. And then what? The police are going to be like, well, you were in his house. And it's like, yeah, you invited me in. It's like, the door was open.
Okay. Let me know what y'all think about that in the comment section, but let's get to the reactions, man. Dude says, so you guys been enjoying Timcast? Our guy, right? While everyone was kicking his back in, Tim decided to troll, saying everyone else is right, I was wrong. The moment politicians put up a sign saying no weapons, any use of a weapon in that space is murder, no matter what. Our right to bear arms ends where people vote. Then he continues to say, if laws are passed banning weapons from a school, you cannot bring one. If someone grabs you and you use the weapon, it's murder. Obviously. Dude says, why does nobody realize Tim is saying the opposite of what he believes to make a point? But hours later, he doubles down and shares this right here, saying, I don't care about conservative tribal outrage. And what he's sharing is the arrest report, which shows that Austin Metcalf was the initiator of the verbal altercation and the physical altercation. Austin Metcalf was the aggressor. Now, what happens past that point, you can argue that until you're blue in the face, but that is the situation, all right? Now, more people are going back and forth. I would play this guy's take on the situation, but I can't play the full thing because there's music in the background. But you're gonna hear someone saying why they think that Karmelo can get off with self-defense.
My opinion on Karmelo Anthony is he's gonna do a lot of prison time for taking.
He may do a lot of jail time, he may not. I don't know, I'm not on that jury. But I don't wanna liken this to a case from Wisconsin or a case from New York. Let me liken this to a case from Texas. A young man by the name of Jesus San Miguel got into neutral combat with a friend and stabbed him, only receiving 30 days in jail and 10 years probation. Why such a lenient sentence? Because in Texas, as long as you are lawfully present, you can use deadly force to protect yourself against serious bodily injury. Karmelo was somewhere he was legally allowed to be. At 17, he's an adult in Texas. So he's an adult in public, somewhere he's legally allowed to be, which is a school district track, not a school, but a track owned by the school district, and somebody asks him to move from a public place, he refuses and they put their hands on him twice, according to 30 eyewitnesses. In a state like Texas, it's open and shut. Maybe we should train people to not put their hands on people. Control your urges, control this Neanderthal territorial bullshit. Maybe we have less.
Okay, so that was the homie take right there, dog. He's blue for a tracker. I believe that's his TikTok. You guys see it on the screen. But for an opposing perspective, check out what this lady has to say right here. Her name is Boss Attorney on TikTok. It's spelled correctly altogether, Boss Attorney, if you want to see more from her, but see what she has to say about the situation.
Karmelo Anthony is not likely to succeed on a self-defense claim in his situation with Austin Metcalf. And one of the main reasons why I don't think he's going to be able to succeed is because of the quotes that they are using in the arrest affidavit, which could potentially show intent. Now, intent does not have to be the intent to unalive someone. It can just be the intent to use a dangerous weapon in order to stop your assailant. And developing that plan does not need to be a plan over a couple of days. It can be a plan over a couple of seconds. Like, if this guy touches me, I'm going to use the dangerous thing that I brought in my backpack to hurt him. And that can take all of 1 to 3 seconds. I know a lot of people are saying the fact that he had it in his backpack indicates that he had an intent to start some trouble, but I don't think that's necessarily true. I definitely understand people saying that Texas is a stand your ground state and open carry state. However, when you are standing your ground, you are only able to use force that is justified. Now, people are saying both twins who are well over 200 pounds was approaching Karmelo. Karmelo was only about 160, 170 pounds. So using the weapon might have been justified if he's defending himself against 2 large boys. But that's going to be a question for fact that the jury has to decide. I know the father of Austin Metcalf is saying that this is not a race issue and he doesn't want it to be a race issue and politicized. However, we have to be honest with ourselves. The fact that this is going to go to trial and the current justice system that we have right now, it is going to turn into a race issue, whether you want it to be one or not. Now, I understand that Karmelo is trying to raise money in order to defend himself in the trial and hopefully he can get to his goal. This situation is unfortunate for both families. Karmelo could potentially lose his life by going to jail, and Austin Metcalf honestly lost his life. It's really just an unfortunate situation all around.
Okay, so that's her take. That's her take right there. Now here goes my take, dog. My main concern is that Karmelo has the same rights as every American in this country, regardless of his skin color. That includes having access to the same tools that were used by others who were on trial for murder. I don't give a flying fuck about your emotions or opinions about whether he will be found guilty or not, because that decision will be in the hands of 12 people. Now, if we do have to speak about what we think gonna happen in this case, I can see it being either reduced to a manslaughter or not guilty due to self-defense. I can accept both outcomes for the situation due to what I've seen in this country, and either outcome is going to leave a lot of people upset. But with that, I'll say this right here, dog. If you are truly emotionally affected by the situation, then the best that you can do as an adult is get in your job and tell your kids a few things. First of all, mind your business and keep your hands to yourself, and that'll lower the possibilities of something like this happening to them. Okay, I'm all about prevention, dog. Prevention. How do you prevent this situation from possibly happening again? That's one of the ways. Mind your business, keep your hands to yourself. That's one of the ways. And on the other end, tell your children the risk of escalating the incident, and make sure they understand that you can take things to a place that you nor your adversary can come back from. And I know being able to temper your actions in the heat of the exchange is hard, but self-preservation, that's vital. Self-preservation is vital. And you lose that ability when you make a decision that's similar to Karmelo's. You feel me? See, at that point, bro, your life will be in the hands of 12 strangers, and you'll be praying to God that they have mercy on you and hope that they understand the position that you're put in, and to factor in that people already have a preconceived perception of black men, which has been loud and clear through the discourse of this case. So don't come in my comment section trying to gaslight us. Fuck if you do, but I'm trying to say, bro, when you factor in that perception, people will want to punish you for even feeling like you have the audacity to be in the vicinity of other white folks and thinking that you can buck back at that good old boy that's demanding you to leave. Unfortunate circumstances, but this is America. And I still hate that a life was lost, but man, listen, get on y'all jobs as parents and stop complaining about strangers, because there will be another situation like this. And I'm not even referring to the racial aspect, but there will be another situation just like this one. And it's your job to do your best to make sure that it's not one of your kids that's on either side of this tragedy right here. And I know kids got a mind of their own. I know that and I get that, but do your best to try your hardest. But hey, man, let me know what you got to say in the comment section below. I'm going to go ahead and get up out of here, though. This is another update with Stace. Yo.